My fiancé never wore his ring to work. Then I saw his office photo when I confronted him. He said the ring was uncomfortable. I still remember the first week after our engagement. I used to look at the ring on my fiancé's hand the way some people look at a sunrise, quietly, gratefully, believing it meant something unshakable. His name was Evan, and we were living just outside New York City, where most people commuted to Manhattan every morning. We were both building our careers, me in publishing, him in corporate strategy. Our schedules were busy, but somehow we always found our way back to each other. At least, that's what I thought. The first time I noticed he wasn't wearing his ring to work, I didn't think much of it. He came home late one night, loosened his tie, kissed my forehead and said, "Babe, I left my ring in the bathroom before I left." I was rushing. I remember laughing about it. I remember teasing him, wow, engaged for 1 week and already forgetting the symbol of our love. But a small piece of me tilted my head, curious. He'd never forgotten anything sentimental before. Evan was the guy who'd remember the exact date we first shared a slice of cheesecake at a diner in Midtown. He was thoughtful, intentional, or so I believed. But then it happened again. And then almost daily. Whenever I asked, he'd give me the same answer. "The ring bothers me when I type," or "I'm afraid I'll scratch it," or "My fingers swell when the office gets hot." It sounded almost rehearsed. I kept trying to trust him, but something inside me was shifting. A quiet uneasiness, a feeling that something wasn't adding up. But still, I told myself to be understanding. We were both stressed with work. I didn't want to become the fiancé who made everything a problem. So I swallowed my discomfort, smiled, and kept moving forward. At the same time, I noticed something else shifting between us. Evan had always been interested in my work, asking about the authors I worked with, brainstorming plot ideas with me, celebrating even my small wins. But lately, he'd drift into conversations that sounded more like therapy sessions for his office frustrations. He would sit on the couch with his laptop open and vent about everything: team conflicts, consultant disagreements, pressure from upper management. And he started talking about one consultant in particular. Her name was Cassandra. At first, it was innocent. He mentioned she was brilliant, sharp, someone brought in to help restructure their department for a big expansion project. But slowly, her name started coming up more often. At dinner, on walks, even during weekends when we were supposed to be unplugging. He didn't talk about her like a coworker. He talked about her like someone he was trying to impress. He would say things like, "Cass sees the bigger picture," or "Cass said something today that really stuck with me," or "Cass thinks I should push for a more senior role, she believes in my leadership." Sometimes he'd follow it with, "It's nice to feel understood at work, you know?" I did know. I knew exactly what it meant when a man's admiration slips into something more emotional. When a woman becomes his confidant, his validation, his excitement. Even if nothing physical has happened yet, the emotional landscape starts bending in her direction. But again, I pushed my feelings aside. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was just stressed with my own deadlines. Maybe this consultant was simply that talented, impressive, inspiring for the team. I forced myself to believe it. The truth, though, was that our connection was starting to fade in ways I didn't want to acknowledge. Evan became quieter at home, more distracted, more attached to his phone. He'd turn his screen away when I walked by, not rudely, just reflexively. He'd take calls outside, even in the cold. He'd smile at his notifications, not with joy, but with a restrained kind of excitement. One that wasn't meant for me. Still, I kept telling myself, we're planning a wedding, we're building a life, he chose me. But sometimes, choosing someone with your words doesn't match choosing them with your actions. Everything changed the morning his company posted an official announcement photo for their new consulting partnership. Evan came home early that day, seeming oddly jittery, but I didn't think much of it at the time. I curled up on the couch with coffee, opened my laptop, and clicked on the company newsletter he'd forwarded earlier. It was a group photo, maybe 20 people standing shoulder to shoulder in the new collaborative workspace. And there they were. Evan and Cassandra, standing close, too close, his hand resting lightly, barely, but unmistakably on her lower back. Not inappropriate enough to raise concerns in HR, but intimate enough that if you know, you know. My breath hitched. My eyes darted to his left hand in the photo. No ring, not even a faint tan line. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I'd be sick. I closed the laptop slowly, my heart racing, my mouth dry. I wanted to tell myself I was imagining it, that the angle made their closeness seem worse. Maybe he'd accidentally forgotten the ring again. That maybe, just maybe, this photo wasn't what it looked like. But deep down, I felt the truth. The clarity that comes like a punch to the ribs. He wasn't wearing his ring because he didn't want her to see it. For the first time in our relationship, I felt something break inside me. Not shatter, breaking is slower, quieter. It's the first crack that warns you the structure is no longer stable. When Evan came home that night, I acted normal. It wasn't intentional, I was frozen, unsure how to even begin the conversation. How do you confront someone when you're not ready for the answer? He kissed me, asked about my day, and I watched him as though I was seeing him for the first time. The way he loosened his tie before kissing me. The way he smelled faintly of someone else's perfume mixed with office air. The way his eyes looked tired, conflicted, not from work, but from carrying something he wasn't saying. 2 days passed. I replayed the photo over and over in my head. I rehearsed what I wanted to ask, but the words always turned into sand in my mouth. Finally, I told myself I needed clarity, answers, the truth even if it hurt. I decided to stop by his office unannounced during lunch break, not to catch him doing something, just to see, to feel the environment, to understand the context of that picture from the inside, not through a screen. When I walked into the lobby, I felt awkward, out of place. Corporate buildings always make me feel like I'm trespassing unless I'm holding a laptop and wearing heels. But I gave my name at the front desk and waited. Evan wasn't in the lobby when I got upstairs, but someone else was her. Cassandra. I didn't know it was her at first, but the moment she walked around the corner and I saw her interacting with her team, I knew. Her confidence was effortless, the kind of presence that fills a room without trying. A sharp blazer, hair pulled into a clean low bun, minimal makeup but striking. She looked like a woman who never second-guessed herself. I suddenly understood why Evan admired her. Then she saw me. Her eyes flicked to my engagement ring, then back to my face. She gave me a polite smile, polite but curious, assessing. "Hi," she said, stepping forward. "You must be Evan's fiancé." I froze. For a moment, all I could hear was my heart pounding in my ears. "You know who I am?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Her expression flickered just a moment, but enough for me to notice. "He's mentioned you," she said. A few times, not often, not proudly, not with excitement, just a few." Before I could say anything else, she followed up with, "He's in a meeting right now, running behind as usual." She chuckled like she knew him well, too well. "I can let him know you're here." I forced a smile. "It's okay. I'll wait." She nodded and walked away, her heels clicking softly, her posture relaxed and unbothered. I sat in the waiting area, staring at my hands. My ring felt heavy on my finger, heavier than ever before. 15 minutes later, Evan appeared, and the moment he saw me, his face changed. Shock first, then unease, then a forced smile. "Babe, what are you doing here?" That was all I needed to hear, because love doesn't sound like that. Shocked. Cornered, afraid, not unless you have something to hide. "I was in the area," I lied. "Thought I'd take you to lunch." I watched him carefully, his throat tightened. His hand instinctively moved to his left finger, the one without the ring. He rubbed the skin there as though something should have been there but wasn't. When we walked out of the building, I asked casually, "How's the consulting team?" His jaw tensed. "Fine. Busy. Cassandra seems nice." He actually stumbled over a crack in the sidewalk. "Oh yeah, she's very professional, very talented." Talented, a word he'd never used for me, not once. Lunch was quiet, he was distracted. I was pretending not to be analyzing every move he made. When we got home, I thought he might confess, or at least ask why I came. But he went straight to his office room, saying he needed to finish a deck for the next morning. That evening, I sat on the couch alone, staring at the engagement party photo we'd framed on the wall. We looked so happy. I wondered how long he'd felt drifted. How long he'd been giving parts of himself to someone else. How long I'd been loving a version of him he no longer was. The breaking point came 2 nights later. I heard his phone buzz while he showered. The screen lit up and her name appeared. Not saved as Cass or Cassandra. Just a number, but with her initials after it. CW, like a secret code he thought I'd never notice. A message preview showed, "I'm still thinking about what you said today, I hope you're okay, and I hope you meant it." My chest tightened. I opened the message, not to violate trust, but to confirm what I already knew. There were only a few texts, but they were enough. Her, "It felt different today, I didn't expect you to open up like that." Her, "Are you sure she's the right person for you?" Him, "I don't know anymore, that's the problem." Her, "You don't need to decide now." Her, "Just don't wear the ring if you're not sure." Him, "I don't." I dropped the phone. My heart broke so loudly I swear I could hear it physically crack. When he came downstairs later, towel around his waist, humming, I was sitting on the couch clutching the office photo in my hands. He froze. "Why are you holding that?" I saw the text. His face paled. "Wait, listen, I can explain." I shook my head slowly. "Explain why you take off your ring at work? Why did you tell another woman you're not sure about me? Why did you let her question our relationship?" He tried stepping toward me, but I backed away. "Please," he said, voice trembling. We were just talking. It got emotional. I never meant for it to go that far. How far did it go? I asked quietly. He hesitated, and in that hesitation, I learned everything. There was one kiss, he whispered. It just happened. We were both stressed, and I sobbed. A sound I didn't recognize. A sound that came from a place deeper than betrayal. It came from the death of something I believed was unbreakable. You kissed her, I repeated. And then you came home to me. He reached for me again, but I stood up, stepping back until I hit the dining table. We didn't sleep together, he insisted. I swear on my life. It was just one kiss, I stopped it. I told her I'm engaged. But you weren't wearing the ring, I said. He shut his eyes. It was one mistake, he whispered. One moment, I swear I never meant to hurt you. I felt appreciated at work, admired, seen, and I got carried away. There it was, the truth. He didn't cheat because he fell out of love with me. He cheated because he loved the way she made him feel. Because he liked the version of himself he was in front of her, powerful, wanted, validated. It wasn't about her, it was about his ego, and the realization made everything hurt even more. You lied to me, I said, voice shaking. Every time you leave without the ring, every time you talk about her, every time you came home distracted, every time you told me everything was fine. He moved closer. I love you, he said desperately. I choose you. I'm begging you, please don't leave. And maybe I could have forgiven emotional confusion. Maybe I could have forgiven a drifting connection. Maybe I could have forgiven a moment of stupidity. But he made a choice that stripped me of something I can never get back, my belief that we were a team. That he was proud to be engaged to me. That he wore the ring not because it was comfortable, but because he wanted the world to know he was taken. So I confronted him with the same intensity he used to love about me. Why did you tell her you weren't sure about me? He froze. That, I said, is not a mistake. That's a truth you were too cowardly to tell me. His eyes filled with tears. I was confused, he whispered. I felt lost. I needed someone to talk to. You needed a consultant, I said sharply. Not a replacement fiancé. He broke down. Actually broke down, hands on his knees, tears falling onto the hardwood floor. But none of it softened me, because pain doesn't always equal regret. Sometimes it's just panic about consequences. When did you feel you had the wrong feeling about someone? I realized it that night. About him, about us, about love. I took off my engagement ring, placed it gently on the table next to the printed office photo, and said the words I never imagined I'd have to say. I'm done, Evan. He choked on a breath. Please, please don't do this, we can fix it. I'll go to therapy, I'll quit my job, I'll cut her off. You already cut us off, I said quietly. Long before the kiss, long before the texts, long before the photo, you just didn't want to admit it. And then I walked out, not dramatically, not slamming doors, not screaming, just gone, because sometimes the loudest heartbreak is the one that moves in silence. I moved in with my sister for a while. I blocked his number. He emailed, called from his work phone, sent letters, begged for another chance. Cassandra left the consulting project a week later. Rumor had it the situation became uncomfortable for the team. Months passed, healing was slow, uneven. Some mornings I hated him. Some mornings I missed the version of him I thought was real. Some mornings I missed the version of me who believed I was loved the way I deserved. But eventually, clarity grew where heartbreak once lived. I realized love isn't proved by grand proposals or framed photos or promises whispered in the dark. Love is proved by what someone does when nobody is watching. And he didn't choose me when it mattered. And honestly, walking away wasn't a weakness. It was honoring myself. 1 year later, I heard Evan had switched companies and moved further outside the city. I also heard, through a mutual friend, that he tried reaching out to Cassandra again after our breakup, and she shut it down immediately. Of course she did. She didn't want him. She wanted the version of himself he was pretending to be. And I deserve someone who didn't have to pretend. Today I wear a different ring, one I bought myself. Not an engagement ring, a simple gold band, a reminder that I am whole, that my worth isn't tied to someone else's commitment, that my heart survived something it wasn't prepared for and came out wiser. When did I realize I had the wrong idea about someone? The moment I saw the photo. The moment I saw everything clearly. The moment I learned that sometimes, losing the wrong person is the biggest relief disguised as heartbreak. Tell me in the comments if you can relate to this story, if you have a moment in your life where you have to choose yourself over anyone else. If you stayed till the end, thank you. Hit the like button, subscribe for more real stories.